welcome to the DeFi Download, a show about decentralized finance and all things crypto, where we dive into the details of the projects, assets, and services that are driving the DeFi revolution. I'm your host, Piers Ridyard, CEO of the decentralized finance protocol Radix, a public ledger entirely focused on bringing DeFi into the mainstream. Today, I'm joined by Breno, founder of Boto, a platform for building bot-based automations for both developers and non-developers in DeFi and Web3. Breno, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Piers, very much.
So, bot-based automations, I think that this is like one of those areas that a lot of people in the crypto space are like, man, I really wish I could. Like, bots are one of the things that everyone always complains about, right?
Yes.
So how are you democratizing the bot?
I think that's it. There's a love and hate. Part of why we tried to get a little cute logo and the name Be Friendly, we really tried, because there is a lot of, let's say preconceptions.
Right.
And it really started from friends that started getting into DeFi and trading and asking for bots to do this and that, because I develop and some of my friends develop, but most of them don't. That's where the idea was born. How can I enable my friends and other people to build their own bots, because at the end, everyone wants something slightly different. You want to put your logic, right? You might buy things based on different information than I do. So yeah, that's how the idea started.
Okay, and so this you realize that bot logic and bot development could basically be separated as conceptually.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I like to think about it is, let's say nowadays you have information, right? Web 1 started where one side provided information to everyone. The developers could provide information. Web 2, now the users were able to change the information and add data to the internet. And now we are in a place where automation is still coming from one side only, mostly from developers, mostly from companies who build. And that's the direction we are going in general, AI, machine learning, all that. So it's a little bit black box for most people. So how can we bring that back to the user to provide, to bring their logic? So your principles, your decision tree into that. So the bots are running behind the scenes. You don't need to fully understand technologically the same way that in Web 2 you don't need to fully understand how the platforms work behind the scenes. But you understand that if you make those choices, if you connect those dots, this is the result you're going to get. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you guys have already got quite a few users of your platform, right? You're installed on a fairly high number of Discord servers.
Yes, we are in over 2,300 Discord servers. We have a little bit over 3,500 users, and up to date we have weekly we send more than 1.5 million actions that the bots do weekly.
1.5 million actions.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's been quite an interesting journey, in terms of getting the infrastructure and everything to run. And with this short amount, we've been live for about 6 months. So
that's really cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool. I actually saw you guys. I think that someone have you heard of the Orange DAO?
No, I haven't.
Oh, see, the Orange DAO is a bunch of Y Combinator alumni who have got together to build an investment DAO called the Orange DAO. And
cool.
You guys got installed on their server as well. I remember seeing it and being like, oh, that's cool, because what is the main use case at the moment that people are using Boto for?
It's to get insights on NFTs and for DAOs as well. So DAO proposals or NFTs. So in terms of knowing what's going on in that space.
Okay, so what's an example automation?
One example that we have is if you want to monitor a specific well-known investor and see whenever they start investing in a new collection, so you get in very early on that collection, right?
Right.
Or another example, which is very popular, is tracking sales or listings of collections. Yeah.
Right. So this is basically, is it blockchain? It's a blockchain monitoring.
Yeah.
So you'll be looking at your. Yeah.
So we work with multiple the providers of data. The idea is really to be agnostic and able to connect with different platforms. Most of our bots now today do monitor directly the blockchain, especially Ethereum and Polygon.
Okay, and then you then have a way of building some logic functions that then result in an action such as message this channel on this Discord, or ping me on Telegram, or send me an email.
Exactly. And if, for example, if there's a specific trade to do, send me an email. But if not, I don't know, just post this message here. Depending on if it's sales or buy, change the color of the message, or it's very, very customizable. The idea was always to build something very composable and flexible, so the user can play with. We have some. We have some users. We have one user that have more than 1,000 bots. We have some users who created a bot with more than 50 blocks. And then the concept of block is basically, if you're building your logic, you have, first monitor NFTs. That's one block that is doing this. And then check if the price is X, that's another block, or convert Ethereum to US dollar, it's another block. So some of them are quite creative.
So this is so 50 blocks would basically be 50 pieces of branching logic, right? And so that sounds quite big. I mean, I don't know how big sort of really complicated automations can get, but just off the top of my head, that feels pretty big.
Yeah, we didn't expect to have that early, but. Yeah, it's something that we started thinking. The team started thinking together. How can we simplify when the bots get really complicated, like 100 blocks, and people can kind of zoom out and see things, summarize the logic. So there's a lot that we a lot of new problems that come with it,
Interesting. And so right now it's messaging only, right? Mm-hmm. But I assume this is, you're going to want to be able to do things like allow triggers like actual transactions to be sent?
Absolutely. So, for example, if you're monitoring a proposal on the DAO, you could reply to the bot and vote on that proposal, and just approve your MetaMask, or confirm that you have that address. If you see a listing of an NFT, you could potentially buy that NFT through the bot, and those are like the bot acting as a butler for you, where it's assisting you. But then, of course, we also want the bot to be automatically doing transactions on your behalf. So once you have a logic that you don't mind, you don't care if the bot, if you're very comfortable with your decision, with your decision tree, and you wanted the bot to fully automate and transact on your behalf, you could also do that. So those are
so you're getting to the point where you could actually get the bot to trigger. I mean, it would have to trigger either how would that actually work? You need some kind of wallet integration, right?
It really depends on the use case, right? If you're talking, for example, buying things through OpenSea, that's a normal API. It's a centralized platform, right? If you're talking about DeFi, then we need to look into wallet integration and also smart contracts that are specific for the bots. Because one thing we don't want is to hold your private keys for your wallet. The direction we are going is having a contract where you basically top up an amount and the bot can only use up to that amount. Whatever we buy, it's on your behalf. We can only buy and sell on your behalf, and it goes back to your account. So
right. So it really does and is that where you see the biggest growth area? Are you right now, I suppose, how are you categorizing your customer base? Because NFT monitoring versus DeFi arbitration seems to be quite a different customer group.
You would think so. And, I would say that we have today, especially in most of our 98% of our bots are around NFT. And out of those, I would say we have three main characters. One of them is the artist who install our bots in a specific server, their servers. And then you have the collectors, which are mostly people excited about NFT and buying NFTs, for different purpose, partially to make money, but not only that. But then you have the traders who are really just looking to make money, mostly. That group is not just trading NFTs. They are everywhere. They are also in traditional investments. So when we offer that, we want to offer for crypto, but we also want to offer for traditional assets in the future. So the same user can use us as a logic platform to automate their decision. using their principles to trade.
Interesting. And so, like, how much do you think bots are going to become part of everyday people's lives? Like, I think that concepts of automation software have been around for a long time, and the concept of bots have been around for a long time. So, like, do you think this is going to be something that more people are going to integrate into their day-to-day lives, or do you see this as continuing to be a relatively specialist area, appealing to a certain type of person or a certain person who has a problem set? Right. Yeah.
It's a good question. I mean, of course, you can take it from a problem to problem perspective. We do plan on being a general purpose platform. So everyone will have a problem, and ideally that could be automated, right? So they can save time ultimately. And also companies. I mean, so the way I see it's everyone, could be using. So if you lower the barrier for people to automate things, my belief is that more people will do, and you're saving people's time. It's amazing. I was reading an article that says that I think we spent about 5 years of our lives doing admin work, at work, and 5 years. And I mean, how many years we have that we really productive work, and we're spending 5 of those, And so, I mean, of course, maybe not everything admin task can be automated, but there's so much that can be automated, right? And and when you think about things that you do that is not admin, so you do even more often. How many times have you looked into NFT things, and how much time have you spent, searching things and looking? So whatever you can automate, better. Yeah, I see. To give it like a simple example, it could be even used for small companies. If you have a company that you have daily tasks, like large corporations will automate that with custom software, right? But a small company, they don't have the budget for that. So imagine that now they can go use Boto to put the logic for when their stock is low, they can rebuy, and look into multiple platforms, let's say buy from Amazon or whatever. I mean, of course, this is a little bit outside of DeFi and crypto. I'm saying just in general.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how does this differ from something like Zapier?
Perfect. Yeah, good. Zapier is really, the way I look at it is Zapier is more of a workflow automation, kind of like a one-to-one simple thing. If this happens, do that. You don't really have
if this happens on this platform, do that on that platform.
Exactly. And if you go to Zapier today and say, look, I want to connect Discord, it will give you a few options of what to connect with. The whole platform we built is that every block is connecting with anything else you want. It's really a general purpose automation. We also want to allow developers to build blocks to our platform. So the main difference is this concept that we want people to drive the recipes, people to share the recipes, and to drive the connectors with other platforms. Where Zapier was more of the approach of, we build this nice automation, simple Zap for you, and you just use that for this one purpose, and which is very useful for a lot of people and very simple to use. But again, like the automation direction and logic is coming from one side, from the side of that company is dictating how that will happen, allowing you to customize a little bit, of course, but mostly.
Yeah, because there was this period of time, like Zapier came out, and then I don't actually know how to say it.
IFTTT.
IFTTT, yeah. Which stands for the if this then that.
Exactly.
Right? Which is like, those came out early 2010s. I feel like they were like maybe 2010, 2011, 2012, and there was this like big idea about web automation and democratization of like interconnecting platforms and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff that's changing here. One of which is like with Web3, transactions are programmatic in a way that you just can't do with banking. You can't connect your personal bank account to something that says, oh, if a Black Friday sale comes on Amazon, and this camera that I've been looking for goes on sale, buy it, because I never freaking remember to check it. I only see it like after the Black Friday sale has happened and be like, oh, bugger, I should have gone and looked.
Exactly, when the PS5 comes available,
Right.
I feel like, Web3 is really paving the way with data availability and enable people to do things programmatically, right? I think Web2 is also kind of like catching up on that in some ways. Some platforms are providing more and more APIs to allow it to do things. You see platforms like Alpaca coming for traders, which are allowing people to do things programmatically. That's the main reason we chose to start in DeFi and Web3 is because of that, because of how open to programmatical actions and to and availability of data. It's amazing, right? Most of the data is just there. So if you want to automate, you can just go and do it.
It's really cool. How, like, what's the nature of problems that you'd like to, like, what's the aim in your like wild dreams of, or wild visions of what this platform can do? What's the most sort of like tricky problems of like automation would you eventually like to get to be able to solve?
Wow, that's a great question. Like my wild dream for the platform, it really is to be like the layer of logic on top of the data that we have today. So the internet of logic, and the idea for that is basically to be able to automate any decision making. So when you think about that, it could be anything from decision making from people inside companies who could use Boto to automate the most frequent decision making. It could be small things like logistics decisions, but it could be more advanced decisions, right? More complicated decisions. So this is what excites me to see what kind of use cases will come out of it. And I don't think I will be able to come up with the most exciting one, or anyone that works with me. I mean, that's part of the idea of bringing the community to power. That what's going to be that exciting use case.
So what do you currently use Boto for, and what are you frustrated that you can't use it yet for, and are like really looking forward to like building for next?
Fair enough. I use Boto. It's really interesting because my team would say like I use Boto for everything that I need to automate. Right now we can build blocks that are private to us for the team to use. So anything I need to automate, I just use Boto for it. So I don't have to. And I find that as a developer, so much easier and liberating. It's so interesting because I didn't think about this before. I thought this more for non-developers. But then I realized how modular, if I just need to, for example, monitor what's going on in our website. If something is going down, I need an alert to be sent. If bots are failing, if new users are coming and, they're not using the bots the way we expect, or, all these little things I can automate very easily today with Boto. Right. And before I would have to spend more time coding, and probably I wouldn't do it. You know how it is when you.
So like, how does that actually work? Let's take website monitoring, for example.
Yeah.
What's it actually doing? Is it pinging your website? Is it connected to your backend?
So in our case, of course, because we are building, I gave access to those blocks to our database. Of course, right. We want to allow everyone to build different blocks. So you could have a block that has access to your database. That's not the best practice. Most of our platform has APIs, so we could just connect to that API, right? So ideally, you don't want to have that happening with your
full read-write access. It can go in and change it.
That would be lovely for hackers. So ideally, but ideally, if you have your platform, let's say you have APIs on your platform, you could build a block that connects to your API. And then everything else is there for you, the infrastructure of running those bots, with the frequency or as a trigger. And then all the other actions the bots can take for you. Right now, like we discussed, it's just notification. And you ask me what's next that I'm excited about, is definitely the bots acting on behalf, right? Allowing you to do more than just being notified. Right. And the next thing that as well is that right now, like I said, we can have private blocks, we can share recipes with the users, but we haven't yet enabled a full social community for sharing those bots. That social component of it is so critical for us. With the recent fundraise, I was able to hire team, and we really focus on the community. So we have a great.
You just done your Series A, right?
Seed. Sorry, yes.
Sorry, your seed. I beg your pardon, your seed. And
yes.
you guys, how much did you raise?
We raised $3.7 million in our seed, and I was super excited about it. And so I just started putting the team together. We have now 4 full-time people working with me, and we are hiring more. So if anybody is interested, you can go to our website, look for it, or find us in Discord. Probably that will be easiest. And yeah, so
write a bot that's got more than 50 blocks just to get your attention.
Bring our attention, or do like one of our users who broke our systems when put a bot that ran 300,000 times in a few minutes. So he was monitoring
an infinite recursion bot.
He was monitoring a lot of stuff on OpenSea, more than probably needed. I just can't imagine what you would do with a 300,000 message on your Discord channel in a few minutes. Probably not very.
It's probably, to be fair, it's probably just going into some other form of automation that they've set up elsewhere.
Very, very possible. But I'm excited about building with the team this community side. And some of our users have already asked for it. Hey, can I see other people's bots? And some of them are sharing print screens of what they built with each other.
Yeah.
And I felt like we had to have more in the platform before we enable users to do that. So it's something interesting. Yeah. But it was brought to my attention, rightly so, that there are quite a lot of interesting things already being done with very few things that we have available. So actually, we plan on advancing our timeline on allowing users to share their bots. So
interesting. I mean, that's its own sort of like separate problem set. If it's is like grouping, naming, filtering. Like once you've got a bot, that's fine, but then how is it described in a way that not just makes sense when you're looking at one of them, but when you're looking at a list of them, and how you can decide as to which one you want, and like what all of that stuff just ends up with another level of complexity.
Right, and if you get a bot with 50 blocks on it, you don't want to go to all of them and fill something out. That's going to be painful, and so part of this problem set is exactly how do we want the users to be able to write a bot page where they describe their bot, like a blog a little bit, and explain why to use this for, how to use them, what is, and the idea is that there will be always few creators within the users, right? And then finding those creators and empowering them, providing them the tools that they need, and how they want to sell their bots, not sell, because they wouldn't charge for those bots, but how do they want to present their bots, right? And tell people why to use this bot. So this is definitely a challenge.
It's funny. The concept of automation is such a funny one. Like, I don't automate anything in my life. It's not something I've ever done. I just tend to try and avoid having too many things on my plate. And I think that my life could definitely benefit from automation. I think that we're just so used to manual process that we just don't think about it as something that needs to be done. Like a good example is an email inbox, right? An email inbox is nowadays, especially if you use something like Google Apps for Business or something like that, there's a huge amount of automation that you can just have in an email inbox, but very few people actually end up using it. I do actually. That's probably the only place in my life that I do have some automation. Mainly, if it says unsubscribe at the bottom, then it's just filtered out of my inbox. If it's from like certain addresses, then it's filtered out of my inbox.
Brilliant.
Because, but like, this is like, it's not a problem for you guys now because you're in this lovely like sweet spot of Web3 being early, everything being manual, and the manual aspect of it, meaning that there's high opportunity cost to missing opportunities that there is no way of accessing, right? So like monitoring just doesn't really exist. You guys have built great monitoring products, so fantastic. Then transaction-based actions is also going to be massively successful. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can see that being useful. I can see myself using that because there are things that you want to have that are just de facto good. Like if this price is here on this exchange, which I have an account on, and it's here on here, and if the gas fee is under this price, then
and your balance has this, and
your balance has this, then do this. Like that feels relatively obvious, and all of those kind of automations happen a lot in the traditional space, right? And that coming to Web3, that makes a lot of sense. But it's that wider piece of humans deciding to automate. And I think, what you're doing with the block diagram, with people being able to come in and just arbitrarily move blocks around so that they can build their own logic, is really interesting. It's like Typeform. Do you use Typeform?
No, I don't.
Okay, so Typeform is. I recently found out Typeform is a multi-billion-dollar company, and all it does is allow you to create forms, web forms, right?
Yeah.
But they weren't the first company to do it. Like, not by a long shot. There was like really successful companies that came before them. Like SurveyMonkey did some similar type things, and then there was another forms company. I can't remember its name. And then Typeform came along, and what they did is they just made branching logic easy within forms. And like as soon as they did that, they like took the market, and like almost everyone who creates forms these days uses Typeform. So I can see why automation is so important. But it's that last little bit of making it accessible enough for anyone who's not a developer to be able to use it, which seems to be core to your philosophy, right?
And that's absolutely core to us. The more we can lower the barrier, the better. I think we are miles away from having something that is really simple to users. But, at the same time, we get a lot of praise from users saying, hey, this is great. This is so easy, and I was like, it can be so much better. When we have our internal meetings, like, this is great. We need to improve here and there. So, but it's good to see, when the users that come to our platform, I think about 75% of them manage to put a bot together, without support. And so it's actually quite good when you think about something that's not that easy if you use, depending on the platform you use. And I think that allowing that modularity for people to build their logic is going to be a very differentiation factor for us, because that's really what we give people the freedom to put multiple things. So like you mentioned a couple of things, looking at your balance, looking at the price of the gas fee, that kind of stuff. And but imagine you can also look at did Elon Musk tweet about this today? And you can have depends on. So you put all together, and then the interesting thing is being able to play with it, being able to bring data from multiple platforms that people didn't do that before. And
right.
But today you do that indirectly, right? So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but there's so many challenges that in what you've described. Did Elon tweet about it? Did Elon tweet about it, and was it a good tweet?
Yeah.
Right. What's the semantics of it? Do you see that being possible as well?
Absolutely, and that's why I think it's one of the use cases that I find that depends on people's creativity, right? You could see, let's say, monitor if Elon tweeted about this and then monitor the price, what happens in the next 10 minutes, 20 minutes? Is it going down? That was a really bad tweet. Sell. Is it going up? Okay, that was a good tweet. Maybe I should buy it. There are ways to get around, and I mean, not necessarily my logic will be the best logic. The whole point of bringing that up to other people, part of when I had the idea, I was reading the book from Ray Dalio called Principles. I don't know if you know Ray Dalio.
Yeah, I do.
And that's it. Imagine his whole company was built in this idea that you write down the principles and you follow the principles, you automate around those principles. So part of the core of what I want to do is that, allowing people to put down their principles there. And my principles not necessarily are better than someone else, but being able to see different people's principles and people sharing that. That's where I think we will see the most interesting things coming out.
Interesting. I would debate as to whether or not principles and automation are the same concept. I'm not sure.
No, I think I see principle as logic. Logic is the definition of logic, right? Is a set of principles that you put together, kind of like your decision making. I mean, if you you could argue that's it. I mean, I think the word principle might not be the easiest, maybe not the most black.
Yeah, I mean, but like it's a really interesting debating point, right? So principles are the way I read the book, at least, was the principles are the basis for how you make a decision, not what the decision should be.
Exactly.
But how you think about making the decision in the first place.
Precisely. And that's what you use for automation. So your principles are, look, if GDPR of these countries are going like this or whatever, there will be and the debt is like that, and there will be a major crisis or a crash. I mean, the principles are, if we look at these things, we should be careful because there's something bad coming up, or this is a positive sign. My read of that, those are the principles, right? The principles are you write down, and that's what logic is. It's writing down your principles in terms of do you monitor Elon's tweet, or you look for that's what I mean by principles. But if we want to avoid the word principles, we can just say your decision logic, your decision tree, and kind of might be a little bit less debatable.
No, I've never thought about it like that. I mean, I feel like now I'm coming to categorize it. I feel like it's a level of abstraction above. It's like my principles inform my decision tree, as in like how I create this decision tree in the first place. And then the decision tree is how I build the logic that then ultimately ends up in the action. Whereas like principles are almost like morality. It's morality is not a direct,
more generic level, saying my principle is to be like radical transparency, like he mentioned.
Right,
in the
exactly.
book,
right. That doesn't. And then the decision tree is then okay. Well, then how do I actually implement radical transparency? Okay,
fair enough.
Then that's actually
the principles in that sense. Yes, absolutely. It's much more generic, kind of like it gives you a sense of direction, but it's not specific enough for you to automate anything. Yes.
Right.
So maybe we stick to decision tree, and logic. I know. I like to think that, your principles drive your logic, but you.
Yes. Yeah. No. Absolutely. I mean, like it's a fascinating company. I think it's also a deceptively simple idea, because I think that, the idea of if this then that statements, that is the easy bit. The hard bit is the integrations. Mm-hmm. The hard bit is making sure that it actually is able to turn the logic into something that is useful for the end user. So like, it's going to be really interesting to see how this progresses, and how essentially how much you're able to connect to how much. Mm-hmm. And I'm fascinated to watch.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, part of why we build it so modular, the idea was always to enable more technical users also to bring connections to the platform. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I saw as a flaw in some of the platforms out there. It's, right. That they are the only ones that can bring a new connector. But, I'm not in Southeast Asia. What if there is something really interesting going on there and they just need this one block because everything else in Boto is useful for them? And
I mean, there definitely is something interesting going on there that you're not aware of.
And I'm sure I'm not aware, yeah. And then, and my point being, it might be geography, it might be just industry that I'm not familiar with, and there might be something happening that I'm not aware of, and no one in my company is, and allowing people to build that block and adding that is key. So I had an example when I was early raising the funds where we added Snapshot to our platform, we added snapshot because someone saw a tweet and shared with me, from Peter Pan Showing saying, "Hey, is anyone interested in doing a Telegram bot for a snapshot? I'm willing to sponsor." And one of our competitors replied to the tweet saying, "We've been working with the snapshot team for a while on this, Alpha League." I was like, "Oh wow, I'm sure it doesn't take that long." And then I didn't know what snapshot was, and I was like, "Okay, they must have an API. So let me look. Yeah, they do have an API. Okay, that can't take that long. I already had Telegram as a block in our platform. It took 1 hour from the time I saw the message to have it live in production, and not including the time of fixing one bug that had in production." And then I replied to the original tweet, ended up working with the CEO of a snapshot on another block for them. And the whole platform was built with that intent. I need to make it easy to connect with new things because exactly as you mentioned, this is key. You want to have that exponential factor, of adding.
Right. You need that you get a huge amount of combinatorial power from, sort of a additional connection to already large number of connections.
So what become the complexity at end is, one, maintaining those connections because they are not, written in stone. They change, they evolve.
And then people change their APIs.
Yeah, apparently so. And sometimes they don't tell you,
Yeah, I mean we've done that,
especially in the crypto space.
Sorry to everyone that we've done that too. Yes.
By the way, we changed it. Okay, great. So things break when they change. So maintaining those connectors is important, but also making sure that things are compatible. Because, like I said, that the biggest value is having that the engine for Boto was built to be really generic, where blocks have a standardized output and input, and you can build new blocks and connect them, and there's very little limit of what block is not compatible with which block, right? Mm-hmm. So almost like a Turing complete language, ideally at some point. So keeping that complexity, being able to be the engine to be generic enough to run that complexity, any combination that the user might. This is really hard, actually. It's much easier to build a recipe that does from this to that. And, it's a piece of code that only does that. And I need to maintain that piece of code. And then you have the complexity of maintaining thousands of pieces of code. But on the other hand, you don't have the complexity of making sure that everything is compatible with everything. So that's also a big challenge.
It's really interesting. Well, I mean, it's been such a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the show. If people want to find out more or jump into the community, get involved, where should they go?
Discord is the best place. If you go to our website, you see the Discord link. So
what's the website?
Boto.io. Sorry, yeah.
So Boto.io.
Yes, Boto.io.
That's actually great. That's a great web domain. Boto.io.
And
nice.
And you'll see the link to Discord there. Join us on Discord, and I think that's the best way.
That's awesome. Well, Breno, thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations on the fundraise. I'm sure it was a journey for you. Really looking forward to checking out your platform again soon.
Thank you, Piers.